Hello and welcome to Module 8 of the Concilium Aquis Sulis course on railway signalling. This module begins by answering the question, what is cab signalling? It then explains the motivations for and challenges of cab signalling and how it relates to automatic train protection. Finally, it introduces driver advisory systems and explains how they relate to cab signalling. Conventional signaling presents signaling information through physical line-side signals, which drivers of approaching trains view through their windscreens. These signals can be either colored lights or mechanical semaphore arms. By contrast, cab signaling presents signaling information inside the driver's cab on board the train. Physical line-side signals are no longer required in cab signaling, but the concept of signals as logical states within the interlocking and as physical locations from and to which trains can be authorized to move still exists. These may be referred to as virtual signals. The location to which a virtual signal corresponds may be indicated by a physical sign, known as a stop marker, block marker, or marker board. Cab signaling requires continuous transmission of signaling information from trackside signaling equipment to onboard signaling equipment to extend a train's movement authority, MA, when it reaches the end of its previous MA. Without continuous transmission, a train that comes to a standstill at the end of its previous MA would be unable to receive an MA extension authorizing it to continue its journey. Similarly, continuous transmission is needed to promptly stop trains in an emergency. Without continuous transmission, a train's MA could only be revoked when it passes a balise or beacon transmitting updated information. Intermittent transmission, provided by beacons or balises, is unable to fulfill this function, because a train only receives updated signaling information on passing a balise or beacon. The same transmission media that can be used for continuous automatic train protection can also be used for cab signaling. For example, coded track circuits in which an alternating electric potential is applied between the two rails. This alternating potential is detected by passing trains and is itself modulated to communicate cab signaling indications to those trains. Long inductive loops running between the two rails can similarly be used to transmit cab signaling information, as can leaky feeder cables between or affixed to the rails. As with continuous ATP, radio tends to be the preferred method for transmitting cab signaling information in more systems as it entails less track-mounted equipment. Cab signaling offers a number of benefits over conventional signaling. A key motivation for the development of early cab signaling technologies was enabling trains to travel at very high speeds. Above 200 km per hour, it is not feasible to expect drivers to read line-side signals. Hence, new-built high-speed lines required cab signaling technologies. Even below 200 km per hour, cab signaling can enable higher speeds. This is because speed on lines with conventional signaling can be limited by the available sighting distance for signals and the need for drivers to be able to see them for long enough to read the information that they present. A further motivation for cab signaling is capacity, as there are fewer constraints on block section lengths. In conventional signaling, the need for drivers to be able to see signals for long enough to read them constrains where they can be placed and hence where block sections can start and end. A further constraint arises from the need for signals to be sufficiently far apart to indicate the need to stop before an occupied block section. In practice, the distance at which the need to stop is indicated is often much greater than that required for most trains, owing to the need to accommodate the trains with the longest stopping distances and the need for regular signal spacing to avoid misleading drivers. As entry into each block section must be controlled by a signal, so minimum block section length is in turn constrained. Capacity is reduced below the theoretical maximum both by block section length and longer than necessary distances at which the occupancy is indicated. By contrast, in cab signaling, block sections are unconstrained by sighting and spacing considerations applicable to physical signals, so can be as short as needed. Indications of the need to brake are calculated by trains themselves in accordance with their specific braking characteristics, so are no longer than necessary. Furthermore, information presented to a driver can be updated as soon as block sections become available, irrespective of whether a driver is within sighting distance of a signal. Capacity can thus be much closer to the theoretical maximum of a given line. This is a key motivation for cab signaling in metro applications, which require very high capacity. A further benefit of cab signaling is the reduction in line-side infrastructure that needs to be installed and maintained. This comprises of the signals themselves, associated equipment cabinets, the structures on which the signals and equipment cabinets are mounted, as well as cable routes to deliver power to and control those signals. This reduction in line-side infrastructure translates to cost savings for the infrastructure manager as well as safety benefits for employees, as it greatly reduces the time signaling installers, testers and maintainers need to spend in the hazardous trackside environment working on signaling equipment. Although cab signaling has benefits over conventional signaling, it also brings some of its own challenges. One of these is train fitment. Whereas cab signaling reduces the amount of line-side equipment, it increases the amount of equipment on board trains. Trains need to be equipped with on-board signaling equipment to communicate with trackside signaling equipment and decode messages received, determine their speed and location, calculate braking curves for the train, and present signaling information to drivers. Fitting trains with on-board signaling equipment can be challenging, especially if trains were not designed for it, for a number of reasons. The onboard equipment takes up space and requires power. Trains need to be taken out of revenue service whilst fitment is undertaken. The additional equipment requires additional maintenance and is a potential source of failure. Drivers need to be trained to drive to cab signaling, and maintainers need to be trained to maintain the new equipment. Furthermore, true cab signaling is only possible on a railway when all trains using it are fitted and their drivers trained to drive to it. Because pure cab signaling is only possible on a railway when all trains using it are fitted and their drivers trained to drive to it. A further challenge is encountered on operational railways: migration to cab signaling. On a new build railway infrastructure, trains can be fitted and drivers and maintainers trained ahead of opening. Conversely, on an operational railway, the logistical challenges of aligning all of these activities to achieve a single switchover to cab signaling can be prohibitive. Phased migration strategies are therefore often required. Migration may entail a period of mixed operation on parts of the line, with some trains operating under cab signaling and others driving to conventional signaling, until all trains are fitted and drivers trained. Such mixed operation adds to cost and operational complexity, but can greatly simplify the migration to cab signaling as it removes the dependency on all trains being fitted and all drivers trained. It also de-risks the migration as the opportunity to revert to pure conventional signaling remains during the period when mixed operation is in place. Some basic conventional signaling may even be retained indefinitely to support occasional movements of non-fitted trains such as engineering vehicles and special trains. Technically, cab signaling and continuous ATP systems have much in common, with the key difference being the information presented to the driver in cab signaling, which is not required for ATP. A further difference is the level of dependency placed in the system. Whilst ATP failure cannot lead directly to a collision or derailment, a cab signaling failure can, as the train is being driven to the information that it presents. Technologies related to cab signaling are driver advisory systems. Like cab signaling, they present signaling information in the driver's cab. But, unlike cab signaling, the information is only advisory and does not constitute authorizations to move. Driver advisory systems are typically used to regulate train speed to achieve one or more operational objectives. These may include reduced energy usage, wear and tear by discouraging drivers from driving faster than needed, better service regulation to even out gaps and/or ensure adherence to timetable, as well as safety benefits from the reduction in speed and frequency with which drivers approach conflict points as a result of arriving at a junction or station earlier than planned. Driver advisory systems can be either standalone, networked, or connected. Standalone driver advisory systems provide advisory information to drivers based purely on a pre-configured timetable, the train speed and position. Networked driver advisory systems additionally consider temporary speed restrictions and short-term updates to scheduling and/or routing of trains. Connected driver advisory systems receive real-time updates from a control system, enabling dynamic regulation of train speeds in response to rail traffic conditions. In summary, whereas conventional signaling presents signaling information to drivers through physical line-side signals, cab signaling presents it in the driver's cab. Cab signaling requires continuous transmission of signaling information from trackside signaling equipment to on-board signaling equipment so that movement authorities can be updated and trains stopped promptly in an emergency. The same transmission media that can be used for continuous automatic train protection (ATP) can also be used for cab signaling, as cab signaling has much in common with continuous ATP. However, cab signaling differs from ATP in terms of the additional information to present to the driver and higher dependency placed on it. Like cab signaling, driver advisory systems also present signaling information in the driver's cab, but the information is more limited and advisory only. Pure cab signaling is only possible on a railway when all trains using it are fitted and their drivers trained to drive to it. However, fitting trains with on-board signaling equipment can be challenging, especially if trains were not designed for it. Phase migration to cab signaling is often required on operational railways to avoid the logical complexities of aligning trackside fitment, on-board fitment, driver and maintainer training. Migration may entail a period of mixed operation on parts of the line, with some trains operating under cab signaling and others driving to conventional signaling, until all trains are fitted and drivers trained. Such mixed operation adds to cost and operational complexity but can greatly simplify the migration to CAP signaling as it removes the dependency on all trains being fitted and all drivers trained.